doesn't solve anything. And because we can't change this regime, we have lost the war. This war was about regime change. And now we're going to lose everything. The bottom line is the Iranians have not run out of missiles. They're getting ready to move to the next phase of operations pre-planned on their part. Pete Hegseth, the horrific Secretary of War who brought this war to the American people and to this president, has changed his war plan at least 5 times in the last 10 days. It's going to change again. This is a strategic defeat. We've failed our strategic partners in the Gulf Arab states. We failed our strategic partner, Israel. We can't guarantee success. We can't protect them from a defeat. And we've exposed our own weaknesses. Do you think China is really losing any sleep now over American missile defense systems? Do you think Russia's worried about the Golden Dome? This is an embarrassment. But perhaps the most humiliating aspect of this is the fact that the American people haven't woken up to the fact that we have now entered the same pages of history with some of the worst regimes in history. We are a war criminal state. We have carried out an illegal war of aggression. We have carried out perfidy. We have assassinated leaders, and we have murdered school children. And this was all based upon the horrific advice provided to this president by Pete Hegseth, a man who removed the rules that prevented America from slipping down the path of unconstrained war crimes and created a situation where we slaughtered 170 school children because we forgot that there's this thing called the law of war.
Here's what President Trump, if you haven't seen this yet, it's going to blow your mind. Here's what President Trump said about the slaughter of those 170 little girls. Chris, cut number 10.
Mr. President, did the United States bomb a girls' elementary school in southern Iran on the first day of the war and kill 175 people?
In my opinion, based on what I've seen, that was done by Iran.
Is that true, Mr. Hegseth? It was Iran who did that?
We're certainly investigating.
Still investigating?
But the only side that targets civilians is Iran.
We think it was done. We think it was done by Iran.
Can you give us an
idea? Because they're very inaccurate, as you know, with their munitions. They have no accuracy whatsoever. It was done by Iran.
If you take the video and slow it down, you'll see it's a tomahawk. How could it possibly have been done by Iran? Who could have given him that information? On what could he have based it?
Well, first of all, he knows. First of all, that the tomahawk that you see is the second strike, the double tap. This came after 4 tomahawks struck this facility, and this is what the American people. It's a larger facility. We hit 4 targets there. The initial strike, 2 warehouses in the left hand, or I don't know the orientation, but if you look at a photograph, the left hand side, two warehouses that were empty because there's no smoke, no secondary explosions. We struck a main hospital building. I'll get to that in a second. Smoke came out of that, so the targeteers assumed that we had achieved the desired effects there. And then we struck another facility about the same size as the warehouses in the upper right-hand corner. This happened to be the school, the secondary school for girls aged 6 to 12. We struck that facility, but there was a 5th cruise missile. These are Tomahawk Block 4s. The 5th cruise missile was the contingency cruise missile. This is the one that circled over the site, sending imagery back to the destroyer that launched these cruise missiles, so that people could evaluate whether or not the desired effects had been achieved, and if not, to restrike. They made a decision that the 2 warehouses were sufficiently struck because you had holes in the roof, no secondary, empty facilities. The hospital, which they didn't believe was a hospital, but it was a hospital, had been struck, smoke coming out, meaning you achieved the results. This is a warhead that has dual capability. It penetrates and then blows up inside. So if you got a hole in the roof and you got smoke coming out, it means that you achieve significant damage inside. Then you have the 3rd facility that had been struck, partial collapse, but here they saw people running around. Here they saw people moving in, assembling, people coming in off the streets. And a decision was made that this must be a very important site. So they sent the cruise missile in to strike it. But not just that, it didn't just hit with the dual phase warhead. The Block 4 has the capacity to take unexpended fuel and use it as a fuel air explosive to create a thermobaric effect. And so this missile went in to the building, didn't just explode conventionally, but went in with a thermobaric effect, a deliberate choice made by the targeteers. Now, What had happened, though, is that first missile that hit the school. And the majority of the students survived. There were some that were killed in the initial strike, but the teachers took the survivors and moved them into the prayer hall, which was a part of the facility that remained intact. They called up the parents, most of whom lived locally. The parents began to arrive to pick up their children. Majority were concentrated in this prayer hall when the decision was made to restrike. This cruise missile came down, penetrated, blew up, and then the thermobaric explosion hit. Listen to how the parents described the condition of their children's bodies. Burned to a crisp. There was nothing left. This was a deliberate action by American planners. We know how many cruise missiles were struck. Each cruise missile had a target put into it. We know that there was a restrike. We know this without any doubt. The President of the United States is either a liar or has been told bad information, and Hegseth knows the truth. Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. This war cannot end with Hegseth still in charge. He must be removed from power and preferably arrested. And let me tell you why. See, the United States, even though we're not a signatory to the additional protocol of the 1949 Geneva Conventions, the additional protocols 1977, we adopted them as part of our manual for the law of war, the law of war manual, Department of Defense, and it requires us to use discretion when striking. We have to determine that there is no civilian target. This is a requirement under the rule of law. I've done targeting in combat. I can tell you we do this. We don't allow artificial intelligence to pick these targets, assign grids to them, and just strike them out on a whim. But that's what we did because we eliminated the requirement to adhere to the law of war. Pete Hegseth did this. In 2023, Joe Biden's Department of Defense put forward a directive called the Civilian Harm Mitigation and Response Directive. This required the Department of Defense at every level to have a team who looked over every target to determine whether or not this target was a military target or civilian target. We knew that this facility in 2016 cut off that site. We knew in 2016 that became a elementary school. We knew this because it was public information, but artificial intelligence doesn't pick up on that. Artificial intelligence was simply told within this compound to find buildings of a sufficient size that could be used to hide cruise missiles or drones or anything like that. So we're doing a preemptive strike to take out facilities believed to be capable of. So we hit 2 empty warehouses, we hit a hospital, and we hit a school. Welcome to the targeting. This would have not happened had Pete Hegseth not canceled this directive. Had this directive been in place, we would have a team of targeteers, specially trained to go through the intelligence and ensure that we don't strike anything that remotely resembles a civilian target. And this was a knowable. We had the information that it was a school. It's just that artificial intelligence bypassed that. But we took out the human element, we struck it, we murdered these kids. Pete Hegseth murdered these kids. Pete Hegseth is a war criminal. This war cannot end with Pete Hegseth still in charge. He must be removed and held accountable. If this president wants, he can blame it all on Pete. Said he was lied to by Pete, whatever, but somebody's head has to roll. We murdered 170 children. It wasn't an accident. It was a deliberate act of war carried out by the United States in violation of our own laws, in violation of international law.
Why did Hegseth permit this to happen?
Because he wants to be lethal. Pete Hegseth is the idiot who lectured 800 generals and admirals last October in Quantico about the need to forego wokeism, to forego the rules. We cannot be constrained by these rules of engagement. We have to be lethal. We have to kill, kill, kill. That's what this testosterone-infused madman wanted. So he got rid of the rules so that we could go out there and kill, kill, kill. Well, we did. We murdered 170 plus school children. There has to be a price paid by this. The United States cannot be allowed to perpetrate this crime and walk away free.
The whole war, in my view, and I think you agree, is a war crime because it's a war of aggression. This is the war crime that is the progenitor of all other war crimes. Yep. This is what leads to what Hegseth did. This is what leads to the killing of civilians. This is what leads to torture. I'm sort of paraphrasing Justice Jackson's closing argument in the Nuremberg trial. There's no question but that these are war crimes. Donald Trump, under this analysis, is a war criminal as well because there's no lawful or moral basis for the war. According to the Iranian foreign minister, and this was yesterday, Scott, the U.S. has, for the second time, asked for a ceasefire. And we know they asked not even late last week, the middle of last week, they asked the Italian foreign ministry to ask. The Italians came back with, as you characterized it, two responses, no and hell no. I don't know who they asked this time, but let me play for you what the foreign minister, whom you and I have met, said. Chris, cut number 13.
Obviously, this time is different from the previous time. Last time we accepted the ceasefire, but this time is quite different, and the reason is obvious. Last time they attacked us, they made aggression against us, they killed our people, they destroyed our places, and then asked for a ceasefire, and we accepted out of good faith because we were only exercising the act of self-defense. And when the aggression was stopped, we stopped too. But it didn't bring about peace. And now this year they again started to attack us. And again they have, they are killing our people. They are killing, girl students. They are attacking hospitals. Freshwater desalinations. Refineries. Everywhere, people have been killed, places have been destroyed, and now they want to ask for a ceasefire again. Well, this doesn't work like this. So there should be a permanent end of the war. And unless we get to that, I think we need to, continue fighting for the sake of our people and our security.
Now they want to ask for a ceasefire again. Why would Trump's people indirectly have sought two ceasefires in these 10 days?
Because we lost the war, and they know it. This war can't be won. They sought the ceasefire early on to prevent what's happening now, which is a global energy security crisis and the destabilization of the global economy because of high energy prices. Now that this happened, they need to reverse this. They need to end this. So they're asking for a ceasefire. The Iranians are 100% correct because a ceasefire today simply resets the map. Iran has suffered so much, sacrificed so much to achieve the position they're at today, where they have strategic superiority over both the United States and Israel in this conflict. Israel is defenseless. Iran's getting ready to turn up the heat. The Gulf Arab states are defenseless. In the United States, there's nothing the United States can do to stop Iran. And what could happen next is if we continue to strike, for instance, if Israel continues to strike strategic energy-related targets inside Iran, Iran will destroy the totality of the energy production capacity of the Middle East. And that's game, set, match. It can't be replaced. The people that will win in the long run will be Russia, which is sitting in the catbird seat right now. China, because China will have a strategic relationship with Russia, and Russia will provide them with the energy. India is going to be a disastrous loser, or a disastrous loser. You only have to look at the lines of Indians trying to fill up their canisters with gas. India picked the wrong side. They chose Israel over Iran, a fellow BRICS member. So India is going to pay a horrible price. Europe is going to collapse. And the United States is going to suffer the consequences as well, because even though we're energy independent in theory, we're not. The oil market is part of a global market. The petrodollar is part of a global market. We can't isolate ourselves from the world. We are linked to the world. So when prices spike globally, they spike at home, unless the president can do something to offset it. But in order to do that, you need a strategic petroleum reserve that's been fully stocked. Ours hasn't, because the president hasn't done his job. So you're going to see increasing moves by the president to bring an end to this conflict. He may try to declare victory down the road. What he's going to try to do, if I'm a guessing man, is he's going to try and kill the new supreme leader. And once he murders that supreme leader, he will declare victory and walk away, not understanding that the Iranians will never let him walk away.
Does the Fifth Fleet have a port in Bahrain to which to return?
No, they don't have anything we don't have anything. I mean, we have bases where we could theoretically put troops in. We might have some barracks that are intact, but the functionality of these bases is no longer relevant. Al Udeid can no longer be seen as a hub of American air power in the region, because it will be forever vulnerable to an Iranian attack. The Iranians will not allow the accumulation of American air power in any of these in these facilities. So Al-Udeid is permanently vacated. It's lost its radars, it's lost its communications, and the United States will not be allowed to return. The same thing holds true for all the other bases in the region. And this is what Donald Trump will have to accept. If he wants a ceasefire, if he wants an end to this conflict, he has to permanently remove American power from the region, and he has to lift economic sanctions. Iran won't allow the opening of the Strait of Hormuz unless the United States lifts sanctions against Iran. There may be some negotiating room for Iran's nuclear program. I hope there is, because otherwise we could be seeing a dangerous move towards Iran trying to acquire a nuclear weapons capability in the face of threats from Israel and the United States. We do need to negotiate into this war, but Iran is not going to be the one making concessions. They didn't start this war. The United States and Israel started this war, and it's going to be up to the United States and Israel to pay a price. I mean, Israel, I believe if Iran is going to put its nuclear program on the table, it has earned the right to demand that Israel puts its nuclear program on the table as well. And Israel may not be in a position to oppose this because Israel's about to be turned upside down. Iran has changed its targeting parameters now that they have eliminated Israel's ability to defend itself, and Israel has no ability to defend itself. That was proven last night when Iran struck the home of Benjamin Netanyahu, home of Ben Gvir, and struck other critical facilities, including the power station that brings power to Tel Aviv, which was taken offline. Iran sent a signal last night that it can hit Israel anywhere it wants to, and there's nothing Israel can do. And now Iran's about to escalate by saying all missiles that hit Israel in the future are heavy missiles only with a minimum 1-ton warhead. Tel Aviv is about to be turned upside down. Now, if Israel wants to prevent this from happening, then Israel has to agree to conflict resolution terms that ensure that Israel never again threatens Iran. And one of the ways that can be done is get rid of their nuclear program.
Is Iran in danger of the Israelis detonating nuclear weapons over Tehran?
I don't think Israel will detonate a weapon over Tehran. That would be a precipitous move that would guarantee the physical destruction of Israel from a number of fronts. Israel may choose to do a nuclear demonstration in the deserts of Iran and say the next one that goes off will be over Tehran or something of that nature if Iran doesn't agree to bring this war to an end. But Iran reminded Witkoff and Kushner, the terrible duo, that they have 450 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium hexafluoride. They also have the ability to continue to enrich that. They have probably up to 4 or 5 164 centrifuge cascades sequestered around the country. They've probably broken up the 450 kilograms into several chunks, 60-kilogram chunks that can be enriched in different locations. Iran will build a nuclear bomb. We don't know what's happened now. The one thing that stopped Iran from building a nuclear bomb was khamenei and his fatwa. We murdered him. Now he's been replaced by his son, who's more conservative and has now to deal with the consequences of his father being murdered, his daughter being murdered, his wife being murdered, his family being murdered. And you think he's going to sit there and say, hey, let's make peace. No. He may continue the legacy of his father by prohibiting the manufacture of a nuclear weapon, but he is under a tremendous amount of pressure to make sure that Iran retains the ability to counter any Israeli nuclear or American nuclear threat. Iran will be able to produce nuclear weapons that are deliverable within a week and a half of the decision being made. So if Israel uses a nuclear weapon against Iran, it's a guarantee that Iran will strike Israel with 3 to 5 nuclear weapons. That'll be the physical destruction of Israel, and it will never recover from that. Israel will be wiped off the face of the earth. Iran may suffer huge consequences as a result, but Israel needs to understand that the day of Israeli dominance, unquestioned Israeli dominance, is over. Iran's ballistic missile program, as you heard, remember what the Iranian president said. He said, we believe our ballistic missile program provides sufficient deterrence. We don't need a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Well, that's been proven to be the case.
Have the United States and Israel run out of interceptor/defensive missiles, or are they running dangerously low?
We're running out of PAC-3s, which are the more capable of the Patriot missiles. In fact, as last night, I believe all they fired was PAC-2s, which was why they didn't hit anything, because we don't have anything left. There may be a small stockpile of PAC-3s. We might be able to do some short-term reinforcement of PAC-3s, but we're out of them. And THAAD, we just don't have any radars left. I mean, we might be tapping into the Turkish radar and outside of Diyarbakir, which is a NATO radar, to guide THAADs. But all of the THAAD radars in the Middle East and Jordan, maybe even in Israel, have been struck by the Iranians, which basically makes the THAAD an ineffective weapon system. Our ships off the shore of Israel have, SM-3, SM-3 Block 2s, and SM-6. These are different interceptor missiles with different capabilities. But it's a finite stockpile. When they run out, and they've already blown through them, there's nothing to replace them. So Israel is, in effect, naked. They have no defense. That was proven last night. The Iranians can strike anywhere, anytime they want to, and now they're getting ready to ratchet it up. The next strikes you see will probably be with 1 to 2 ton warheads, and this is a game changer. These are going to be warheads that will take down the skyline of Tel Aviv. We're literally going to look at Tel Aviv be reduced to Gaza-like rubble if Israel wants to continue this war.
There's no indication in the West of the severity of the damage that the Iranians have caused in Israel. From your mouth, it's the first time I heard that Netanyahu's house was hit, Ben-Gvir's house was hit, and the Israeli electric grid was hit. I gather the Israelis are imposing censorship so that the world doesn't know how naked they are.
Yes, that's 100% true statement. But they can't. They're not allowing the visual thing. But you have, we have video of Israel being struck and the lights going out in Tel Aviv. We have numerous people who post on, from Tel Aviv saying we don't have any electricity. The Israelis have acknowledged that Netanyahu's brother was killed in the strike against Netanyahu's house, and there's videotape of Netanyahu's residence on fire. And Ben-Gvir has been severely injured. People believe he might be dead or he might not survive this. Israel has tried to cover this up by saying he was in a car accident, but his house is on fire. So, this isn't speculation. This is known fact. And the Israelis, you can't cover it up. I mean, it's a small place. When the prime minister's home gets hit and is on fire, that ends up on the internet, and it has. It ended up on the evening news in Tel Aviv, and it ended up on the internet here.
How does all this look from Moscow?
Again, as you know, the Russians want stability. The Russians don't thrive in instability. I've heard from ambassador after ambassador after ambassador that Russia wants more than anything is predictability. That the only way you can make a viable foreign policy is to have predictability, to be able to say this is what the future looks like, this is how we plan accordingly. That doesn't mean that you get what you want. To know that you're not going to get what you want allows you to prepare for that. This situation right now, Vladimir Putin has come out and issued a statement that basically said we're in a unique situation right now that we need to take full advantage of, meaning it's time now for the Russian oil companies to demonstrate to the world that they are the epitome of stability, that they're not like all these other oil companies out there that can be blocked and sanctioned and all. Not sanctioned, but blocked and interfered with. That Russia is the one stable source of energy in the world. And they will be able to make this point. So the day of sanctioning Lukoil and Rosneft is over. The world just simply isn't going to buy into that nonsense because Lukoil and Rosneft provide energy. He's also told the energy companies to take advantage of this, make as much money as you can right now and pay off your damn debts, balance your budgets and get back to normal here. And the same thing will hold true for Russia's economy. The idea that, Russia is going to be able to generate a lot of money. They'll be able to balance their budget, which they're having trouble doing. But this is short term. Long term, Russia needs stability. Russia's long-term interest with Iran isn't to have short-term price hikes that give Russia, an economic windfall, but to create the stability for long-term economic stability through the north-south economic corridor linking St. Petersburg with Chabahar and Bandar Abbas. This is what the Russians want. The Russians want China to have the new Silk Road connectivity from Western China to Tehran via rail. This is what Russia's looking for. Russia's looking for Iran to be a member of the Eurasian Economic Union. They're looking for long-term stability, investment opportunities.
And how is this being viewed from Beijing?
remember, the Russians are the one that set the standard here. How do they end the war with Ukraine? They want an end, but only if you address the root causes of the conflict. Russia will not allow conflict termination that only allows Ukraine and NATO to reset and do this again in 5 years. Russia is not pursuing conflict termination right now with Iran, Israel, to reset and do this again in 5 years. This war ends when this war ends, which means the United States will have to leave the Middle East, and Israel will have to stop its greater Israeli ambitions and perhaps give up its nuclear weapons program.
And how does Beijing view this?
The same way. I mean, the Chinese right now, first of all, the Chinese have been dealt a very big gift because they're, when you talk about a potential conflict with Taiwan's just got to be, pooping a brick right now, excuse my language, but, United States, here, take the Patriot 3, you're safe. Here's a THAAD. And the Taiwanese are going, nope, we're not safe. We don't want to do this because we're looking at missile expenditure rates, and we couldn't do we'll shoot all our missiles in one day if the Chinese come after us. And the Chinese are going, wow, maybe we calculated correct. We just fire a huge salvo of missiles at Taiwan. They run out of interceptors, and then we pick them apart. We win this war overnight, and there's not a damn thing the United States can do. So China's been handed a big gift right now. The National Security Strategy of the United States, published last November, talked about it was a precondition of our approach to China to have conventional military overmatch, meaning that we went in there and we flex our muscle, and the Chinese go, oh, we don't want to have anything to do with you. That's over. The Chinese are going, dude, go to the gym. Hey, Pete, 315. Nice. Our dude lists 550. So you're done. This is a big gift to the Chinese. I think what you'll see in April when Xi Jinping meets with Donald Trump, if that meeting still goes through, is the Chinese will seek to insert themselves as a broker. They will confront Donald Trump with the reality of what he's done and the consequences of what he's done, and they will offer him an off-ramp. But Trump is going to have to agree to certain things, such as the lifting of sanctions against Iran and pressure on Israel to stop behaving in a manner incompatible with peace and security, to include Israel may have to put its nuclear program on the table. Now, Iran will put its nuclear program on the table as well. The Chinese will, broker this. But I think China's role right now is to position itself to be the person that brings peace to the Middle East. They did it once before. They brokered a rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran, and I believe China can do it again. They are the big dog when it comes to the economy, and they have skin in this game. The Chinese economy is dependent upon continued flow of energy out of the Middle East, so they want to bring it into this conflict as well.